All right, let me share this. Hello, everyone. I'm back for yet another um, after work post 9 to 5 live stream. Give me a second here. I'm going to get this going. Let me load up this picture here, and then I need to send a notification over to my original channel, letting that crowd over there know that I am going live over here. I don't know who that is that's watching. Oh, there's two people. Thank you for being here. It is as I said, it's the immediate after work hour. Angry Man is going live right now, so I don't expect to, pull followers away from him. Oh, I got a like over there on Facebook as well. Let me send this notification to my original channel. Hold on. And then we'll get started. For those of you who are here, please hit that like. Likes definitely help with the engagement. And if I start talking and you dislike it, hit that dislike too. All right, let me share. I only intend on going for about an hour because I actually want to get out and go to the gym later on for a little bit. I was away, a good part of last week, and just got back yesterday. So I need to get my fitness going again. Let's see. Having a short on Snowfall. It might be 2 words. Yeah, it's 2 words. Let me go back and check that just to make sure. Yeah, that's 2 words. I see a surprised face there. I hope that's not from one of my coworkers. Hey, if one of my coworkers is watching this, I am off the clock, so I can pretty much do what I want to do right now. So it's approaching 6 o'clock. Having a short discussion on Snowfall seasons 1 and 2 on my entertainment and media channel right now. Okay. So that's shared to my main channel. So there might be a rush of people who might come over here to watch it. Let me see who's here in the chat right now. That is, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on David Makes Man. I recognize you from my Big Words blog site Facebook page. All of your characters are in Japanese or Chinese, so I can't read those. I don't know what those are. The Hood Toxicologist is also here. She says 1 word. I don't know. Well, Angela, Hood Toxicologist, let's take a look at this. You see that image right there? That's 2 words. Snowfall. The F is capitalized. Franklin is right there in the middle, but I think it's 2 words. And when I look it up on Google, because I'm going to show the cast, it says Snowfall as in 2 words. Okay. So this is Winston. Winston is Winston from the Roger Report. I don't want to say your last name, your government name, but no, she's surprised. No, the surprised reaction is mine. Oh, okay. That's styling. Well, hold on. Look at. Okay. So it is 1 word. I'm looking at Wikipedia now. Okay. So the people over on my entertainment and media channel, on my original channel, I put it as 2 words. I'm not even sure. Yeah, on this video, I listed it as 1 word. So okay, now I know for sure. All right. So let's jump in because I don't want to. This is not going to be a 3 to 4 or 5 hour Kevin Samuels stream. It's going to be a short one because I want to go out. I've been in all day and working. When you work all day at home every day, you realize that you have to go outside. Okay, a couple of let me look at my notes here. All right. Well, everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you watching live and those of you who will watch on the playback, welcome to Big Discussions 76, Entertainment and Media. That is the new logo for this channel. Shout out to my brother Amal Dunbar, who put this together. For a while, this channel did not have its own logo, and now it does. Let's see. For those of you who don't know, I have a blogging platform. That email address, I have email addresses on Microsoft Outlook, which aren't working right now because they got hacked. But you can email me. I can receive emails, but I can't send them back out. There's a Facebook page. The 2 people in the chat right now know about that. And that's my Twitter handle. And that is my Instagram handle as well. I'm still scratching the surface on how to best use Instagram. I did I recorded myself listening to some old school hip hop a couple of weeks ago before I went out. I was looking like a high value man, had on my jacket and my pocket square and a t-shirt underneath. And I was bobbing my head, and that got a lot of responses on Instagram. So I think I might do some more of that. So today I'm going to just talk about seasons 1 and 2 of Snowfall. Now, I understand that for many of you, the group that's in here watching this live right now and those who watch on the playback, I think we're in season 5 or 6 right now. So for you guys, this might be review and this might be old news. But I'm going to talk about how I stumbled upon the show. Actually, I somewhat knew about it about 4 years ago, but I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about what I've seen in seasons 1 and 2. But before I do, this channel is my smallest channel. There are actually 4 Big Discussions 76 channels. I've used a house of brands approach. And so over here, as the name applies, I talk for the most part about media, whether that's movies or TV shows or books. I have a website that I just started called Big Discussion. No, it's not called Big Discussions 76. It's called Big Words Authors. As many of you know or don't know, I'm actually working on my own book project. So and being a writer was one of my inspirations or goals for coming here to YouTube. I think I discovered, I'd already started discovering all the manosphere stuff, but those messages have kind of evolved. But I came here as a writer first, and when I started my first channel, it was kind of all over the place. At some points it was science, at some points it was sports, at some points it was current events, and so at some point I just split the channels off, and that's where this channel came from. So books, movies, TV shows. At some point I might weave in some music and do some other things. It's pretty much a wide umbrella. But eventually I will start talking about on all of my channels my own book project. But speaking of that, I did start a writer's website, which is called Big Words Authors. I'm going to show that to you really quickly before I jump in to talking about Snowfall. This is it. And this is actually a book excerpt from another writer named Nicole R. White. And we are in discussions right now for her to come over and for me to interview her here. And her book is called Destiny Love Jones. And I actually just received my copy of Destiny Love Jones here. This is a thick book. It's almost 500. It's almost 500 pages. It's fiction, I believe. But she's going to come over and talk about it. But the point I'm trying to communicate is that I started this website for authors, whether it's you have a book excerpt, an essay, poetry, a short story, or whatever. I'm going to use this to launch my own book, but I also wanted to give some traction to younger writers. The other thing I wanted to say was that I haven't forgotten about the code of the street. I'm going to eventually get back to weaving this in, but there's so much to cover, and there are only so many hours in a week. Let me check my engagement again. Okay, if you haven't, please hit the like. Please hit the like. That helps with the engagement. Okay, so Snowfall. How did I first start hearing about Snowfall? Well, it was a couple of years ago. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and prior to the pandemic, I was using the metro pretty much every day, and even on the weekends, because I didn't have a car up until July of last year. And as I was metroing around the Washington, D.C. area, I started seeing posters. I started seeing these posters all over the place. Give me 1 second. I started seeing these posters all over the place. And of course, it's very, very nice artwork. And I didn't really know what it was. I saw the title, Snowfall. And I think there was, I pulled this off of Google. And I think there was one also of Lucia. But again, the artwork was very, very compelling. I didn't see this one around the metro. This is of Franklin and Jerome. And I think I've gone with the background for this stream. I've gone with this image because it's a very compelling image. They're sitting right there in the front of the ice cream candy truck, and it's a Southern California. It looks like night is falling, and they got the palm trees in the back, and it's just a very, very compelling image. So I'm saying that to say that I started seeing these all around the metro. I didn't really know what it was, and I might have had my Fire Stick at that point, and I might have been transitioning off of traditional cable. So to make a long story short, I saw those images. I thought they were really cool, and I didn't watch the show when it first started. So I see some more people coming in. Please hit the like. Please hit the like. Those are free. My Cash App and PayPal are below this video if you want to throw something in the tip jar. I don't have a super chat over here because this channel only has 154 subs. Oh, also, if you're new, if you're coming in from my main channel, please subscribe. Please help me grow this channel as well. I see another comment here. Let's see who this is. Extended Clips. Let's see. What's going on, Extended Clips? Extended Clips is one of my most avid supporters. Thank you for being here. So when did I start to see Snowfall again? When did it enter back into my zeitgeist? Well, it entered back in, let me see, through Officer Charles Faulkner. For those of you who don't know, I know Winston knows who Officer Charles Faulkner is, but TV show. But Officer Charles Faulkner is a friend and a collaborator on YouTube. We've done several live streams on my original channel. See Winston. Yep, Winston knows who Officer Charles Faulkner is. Woo! The woo is Charles's calling card. It's the Ric Flair. Woo! Charles was a wrestler. He's also a law enforcement officer. If you're new coming in, please hit the like. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. So Charles, much of his content is about the Black community, and he talks about relationships. I think all of us in the manosphere do to some degree. But what he did was Charles, and I just looked for it, but Charles found a GIF of Jerome and Louis slow dancing. Charles talks about relationships and being a good man and how good, hardworking men aren't appreciated. And Charles has expressed in his own way wanting to revive Black love. And he showed this gif of Jerome and Louis slow dancing. And I remember looking at that gif. If you watch Charles's channel now, you'll probably see that gif pop up. And I remember looking, number one, and seeing Jerome's his fro or his jerry curl or whatever that is. But I remember looking at Louis and saying, wow, who is that? Who's that woman? She's very beautiful, very pretty. She was wearing her hair naturally. And they're just kind of looking at each other, you know, in a romantic way. And I was thinking, who is that? And so I did Google Snowfall, and the cast came up, and I thought I saw who it was, and I said, okay, that's Snowfall. And I don't think Charles knew what the show was because he just liked using the GIF. So that's how Snowfall entered back into my zeitgeist. And then I caught one episode a couple of probably a month or so ago, and then I realized, you know what? I have Hulu. Why don't I see if I can find Snowfall on Hulu? And sure enough, I typed it in, and I have the basic package, and it all came up. So I started binge watching it probably about a month or so ago. And so I'm just going to talk about, see, we're at 17 minutes. I was going to just do season 1, but I decided to do seasons 1 and 2, and then I'll probably do another one of these as I watch another grouping of the seasons, because it wouldn't make sense just to do one season, especially since most of you all have seen it already. So I watched season 1, and then I went ahead and watched season 2. And so I'm going to talk about my impressions of the show and what I saw in seasons 1 and 2. Corrine Henry's here. Always good to see you, Corrine. Greetings at Extended Clips. Like and share on your way in. I met Corrine over on the Roger Report. A lot of us are over there every day. Very, very compelling. Those are very, very compelling topics that Roger talks about. Roger wants to see more Black marriages, and he wants to see if he can salvage what's left of the Black community. That's his mission. And again, that's where I first met the lovely Corrine Henry. Let me look at my notes here. Okay. So that's what got me interested in Snowfall. So let's take a quick look at the cast. And it takes me a while when I watch these shows to kind of memorize all the names. When I started binge watching Game of Thrones, it took me a while to just kind of understand and remember who everyone was. And Snowfall is the same way. So this is from Google. And I'm sure that beyond seasons 1 and 2, they've added on more characters, because some of the characters, as I'll describe from seasons 1 and 2, have already died. So let's see. So it stars Damson Idris, who is actually British. I think it was Joy Taylor, a lovely correspondent. I think she does sports. She interviewed Damson Idris, and he has a British accent. He's either British or African. There are a lot of Nigerians over in the UK, so it's kind of like same difference, but he's not from the United States. He plays Franklin Saint. That's the name I chose for this live stream, Franklin Saint. And he's the protagonist, the main protagonist. There are actually several. Carter Hudson plays Teddy. Darn it, Mick. I can't see what his Mick is. Teddy McDonald. Okay. He is the CIA government agent who, at the beginning of season 1, the previous guy on this project or on this police mission, he overdoses in the first season, and his blood coming down his face. And Teddy goes back into this aspect of law enforcement, and he gets involved with the cocaine trade, the Southern California cocaine trade once again. Let's see. Angela Lewis, Aunt Louie. So that's the woman I saw in the gift that Charles was playing at the beginning of his shows. And she reminds me of another woman that I know here, an Alpha Kappa Alpha, same complexion, similar smile, similar build, very beautiful woman. So that's what she initially drew me back to seeing what this show is all about. Isaiah John, he plays Leon. That's one of Franklin Saint's best friends. Amin Joseph, he plays Jerome, his uncle Jerome. He's the one with the fro / Jerry curl. He was also in the gift that Charles showed in his content. Sergio Perez Menchada plays Gustavo. What's his full name? Gustavo something or other. I can't see. It's not showing me here. He's a supporting character. See, it's not even showing me here. Let me go back to the cast. But for the most part, he goes by the name Oso. For those of you watching, that do you guys know what Oso stands for? I mean, you've been watching the series, but not all of you may not know Spanish. Who knows what Oso stands for? And they all actually meet. They all meet in the first episode. Franklin and Oso and Bear. So Winston knows it. And Lucia and Pedro. So so there's Oso, Michael Hyatt plays Sissy Saint. That's Franklin's mother. I think she's pretty as well. She's a pretty woman. She's kind of full figured. I think she's a pretty woman as well. Very motherly. She plays that well. Emily Rios. She plays Lucia Villanueva. Rain Edwards plays Melody Wright. That's the girl next door to Franklin's house. Okay, got a suggestion here from Winston. He says, by the way, if you want to look up cast members, IMBD tends to be better. Okay, Winston. Well, I'll humor you there. Let me finish this. Rain Edwards plays Melody Wright, the girl next door, and somewhat of a love interest for Franklin. Elan Abu Tool, Ivy Drexler. He's one of the crazy drug dealers. He helps get Franklin into the drug game immediately. Felipe Valle Costa plays Pedro. Malcolm Mays plays Kevin Hamilton. Since Winston recommended it, let's go over to IMBD. Let's see, Snowfall, IMBD. All right, Winston, where's the cast? Cast and crew, there they are. Very, very compelling artwork. Okay, Winston, where are my nice pick? Okay, let me blow this up. Winston, these pictures are low resolution. Bruh. And now I'm losing viewers, Winston. Okay. Okay, so we at least have the full name. So Sergio Perez Menchada plays Gustavo El Oso Zapata. Angela plays Auntie Louie. McCall, I don't know if that's Michael or McCall Hyatt plays Sissy Saint. Kevin Carroll plays Alton. Emily Rios, Lucia. Okay, it's not necessary for me to go through all of these people at this time for the scope of what I'm going to talk about. But so I'm going to go back to the Wikipedia. Let me see if I can find Lenny, because in this discussion, I do talk about Lenny and Ray Ray a little bit. Craig Tate. So Lenny was played by Craig Tate. Ray Ray was played by Marquise Moore. How about Carvel? Let me see if I can find Carvel. Carvel was a minor character, but that character left a lasting impression on me. Okay, so it's not worth me going through all of these. So I'm going to go back to my Wikipedia pictures. Thank you for the suggestion, Winston, but these are low resolution images. When you do that, you get you can search the name and click on the character actor profile. When you do that, you get a bigger image. Okay. Well, we'll do all that next time. Let's see. Snowfall cast. Okay. There we are. Okay. Oh, you know what? Kevin Carroll plays his dad. And what's interesting is in the first episode, the very first episode, Franklin is driving around at the end with his aunt Louie, who originally drew me to the show, and they see his father crossing the street. His father is homeless and he's dressed like a bum. And you don't really get a close-up of his father's face right away, so he could be anybody. But later on, we get a close-up of his father, Alton Saint, and then I realized, yo, that's well, you guys tell me. Do you guys know what Kevin Carroll's other famous role is? Let me see if you guys know it. It's a very, very famous role. If you like hip hop movies and old school 90s era drug movies, Kevin Carroll. I would look the clip up and show it here, but I don't want a copyright claim against my channel. I'll give you a hint. It's a Mekhi Phifer movie. I'll give you a hint. I'll give you another hint. Wood Harris is the star of that movie. I'll give you one more hint, and then I will give it away. So I told you Mekhi Phifer. I told you Wood Harris. Cameron was in the movie as well. Geez, I think I'm the only one who knows this. I'm sure if I had a bigger crowd here, someone else would know it. It was Paid in Full. It was Paid in Full. Alonzo's here. What's going on, Alonzo? Kevin Carroll in Paid in Full, he played Calvin. And Calvin was dating Ace's sister. And Calvin was bragging about the money that he made in the drug game. See, yeah, Alonzo knew. And he was bragging about the money he made in the drug game. He got arrested. Ace took over the drug game. And then when Calvin came out, I think Calvin wanted his corner back. He wanted to resume where he left off. And he wanted to get back quickly, but Ace told him, no, you're too hot. And then he wound up jacking Ace and just disrupting the entire business that Ace and Mitch and Cameron were running. And then once Rico, because Cameron played Rico, once Rico found out that it was Calvin who jacked Ace, classic scene. Calvin's in his car arguing with Angie Martinez, his girlfriend, who just had a minor cameo. And then Rico pulls up on his bike. He says, "What's going on, Kermit?" Because he called him Kermit the Frog earlier in the movie. Pulls out his weapon and boom, 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 boom. And Calvin goes, "Ah!" like that. So That's where I know him from. Let's see. So let's see. Marcus Henderson plays um, Andre Wright. That's Melody's father. Oh, Judith Scott plays Claudia Crane. That's Auntie Louise' female lover. And then the rest of these people. This guy right here, he was in the beginning, Juan Javier Cardenas. He played Alejandro, who was Teddy and McDonald's first partner. And then he meets an untimely demise. And let's see, Adriana Di Girolami plays Soledad. She's from the DEA. She's an informant. Jonathan Tucker, Matt McDonald, that's Teddy's brother. Okay, so you get the picture. You guys, all of you who have seen this, you guys know who these characters are. So I'm just going to finish up by giving my synopsis on what I've seen thus far in seasons 1 and 2. So, Franklin, I think when the series starts, he's in either his late teens or early 20s. I think he's done with high school, but he works at a store and he's working with his uncle Jerome selling weed. That's him and his uncle Jerome, and they're working together selling weed. He's living with his mother, and then he knows a rich white kid up in, I'll say, the hills, Beverly Hills, or in an affluent neighborhood, and he comes into contact with Avi, and he tells Avi, we should go into business together. I can start selling drugs for you. And then meanwhile, the Villanuevas, Lucia and Pedro, they have their drug business going. And then at some point, Oso comes on. And of course, you can see early that there's a bit of a romance brewing between Oso and Lucia. And you can see that there's some contention between Lucia and Pedro. And as I described early on, as a matter of fact, in the first episode, the original FBI agent working with, what's the guy's name? Alejandro, he overdoses they're basically having an orgy. Everybody's naked, and he takes too much of the cocaine and his nose starts bleeding and he dies from an overdose, and that's when Teddy steps in. So it all just kind of goes from there. And Franklin, I don't know, it's kind of what we've seen in other drug stories. He's the young guy. He comes into the drug game. He's got an aptitude for it. He's very hungry. His uncle Jerome wants to stay in the weed, but Franklin wants to get into the cocaine, and he eventually convinces his uncle to get into the cocaine with him. And then early on, he has some dealings with Auntie Louise' female lover, Claudia Crane, at her nightclub. He starts working with her. And after one of the first episodes, he gets jacked by Ray Ray and Lenny. Shortly after starting to stack his own paper, Franklin buys a motorcycle. And after talking to, what's her name? Claudia at her club, he's leaving with his backpack and gets on his motorcycle. And that's when Lenny and Ray Ray jack him. Now, so what happens is he tracks down. Kareen says, hey, the same everyone I know seems to love this show. Well, I've got a few comments about that, Kareen. I'm gonna be brief, but so he gets jacked, he gets beat up by Lenny and Ray Ray. And he goes to track them down, and they enlist the help of a guy named Carvel. And Lenny's pretty tough. I mean, they tie him up, they beat him up. He won't tell where he's hidden the money and where the money is. And then Carvel snaps. He starts really, really brutalizing Lenny. Lenny's tied up. His mouth is taped shut with duct tape. And then he takes him into the other room. And then Franklin and Leon are sitting there listening, and they're wondering what's going on. And Franklin says, yo, he's in there beating him up. He's jacking him up. And then Leon says, no, he's not doing that. He's basically violating him from behind. And then they kind of look at each other like, yo. And then sure enough, Carvel opens the door. He walks out. And you can see Lenny right there bent over the bed, mouth still taped up, with his pants down, and he turns and he looks at Franklin and Leon. And, you know, Carvel goes in the room, gets the money out, and he leaves. And Franklin's like, yo, what's up with the money? And Carvel's like, yo, this is my money. So, you know, right then and there, I think that typifies, you know, my impressions of the show. It has its fair share of violence. There are some very, very grisly scenes in the show. As the show goes on, you know, people get arrested. Franklin has to drop out of the cocaine aspect at some point, and then Franklin, Kevin, and Leon, they travel north to Oakland, and that's where Franklin discovers how to make the crack rocks. And that's when he decides, okay, we're going to take the crack rocks back down to Southern California, and we're going to get paid, and I'm going to build a whole business just on selling the crack rock. I'm going to see what Winston says here. Winston says, I just found out Kwame Patterson also stars in David Makes Man. Okay, let me see who Kwame Patterson is. Kwame Patterson. Lerp. Okay, so I haven't gotten that far along yet. Okay. So guys, try not to spoil it for me. But yeah, so he grows in the game. And then meanwhile, the Villanuevas are duking it out. Lucia, Pedro, and Oso's, you know, his romance is escalating with Lucia. And then at some point it's them against Pedro. And then I think the father dies or the grandfather dies and Pedro disappears. And then in season 2, Pedro comes back with his wife, Soledad, who was actually working for the DEA. At some point during season 2, there's a standoff between Lucia and Pedro, and she kills Pedro. And also at some point, 2 of Franklin's workers, who I believe are Kevin's cousins. So they're all best friends. Kevin, Leon, and Franklin. And 2 of Kevin's cousins, Franklin says, don't go selling our product in the Mexican and the South American parts of town. But these guys, of course, they do it. And I think Lucia, I think that's how Lucia meets Franklin. But some of the Mexican gangs don't like it. And one of the guys shows up with a knife, and they show the guy literally carving up, boom, 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 and stabbing Kevin's cousins. And he does some other really grisly things to them. And of course, Kevin at that point wants revenge. And Franklin has to tell him, no, we told them not to go over there anyway. And they went anyway. And that's what happened to them. So Kevin, because Franklin doesn't want to take revenge on the Mexicans who did it, he goes and he gives the recipe for the crack rock over to Lucia and Oso. And shortly thereafter, Lucia and Oso tell him, okay, it was this guy who killed your cousins. Kevin goes for revenge. And at the end of season 2, Franklin accidentally shoots Kevin, killing him. And then Franklin, I think I was watching last night or the night before, Franklin goes to jail, which kind of reminded me a little bit of Power. Because I remember in Power, Ghost goes away to jail before Ghost eventually gets killed. So there's something about these stories where the protagonist eventually gets so deep into his drama where the guy eventually goes away to jail, goes through his troubles in jail, gets his sneakers taken, takes his sneakers back, and then he gets out. And then last night when I finished season 2, I think Franklin was trying to figure out how Teddy McDonald was involved. He was trying to figure out what the government connection to all this was. And I think he's going to eventually try to erase Teddy from the entire thing. I don't know how that's all going to work out, but it's so far, it's your typical, to me, it's your typical drug story. You have a young guy getting in. This is in the late 70s, early 80s. So the soundtrack is of that time. They play a lot of classics in that show. And the song that they played at the end of the show last night, Biz Markie actually sampled that song in a song called The Dragon. So I recognized the music and the hook. And Biz Markie actually sampled that song. So it's very much many of the drug stories that we've already been told. There are some very compelling characters in here. There's a thread where his mother, wants to keep him from the drug game, but he's been exposed to it. And his Uncle Jerome actually tells her, we all helped send Franklin here. You have the friends starting off and the friends breaking apart. You have the estranged father. You have the main character steadily delving deeper and deeper and deeper into the drug game. If you guys are new coming in, please hit the like. And then for the Villanuevas, you have their little drama going on. And actually at the end of season 2, I was surprised that Oso dies. The same guy who killed Kevin's cousins with a knife. He comes to get Lucia because Lucia was there when Kevin showed up to take his revenge on him. That particular Mexican gang member gets away and he spots Lucia and he says, okay, she's involved in this. And when he shows up, he says, you almost got my daughter killed. And then to defend her, Oso basically loses his life. That guy was tough because I thought Lucia got off enough shots on him, but she only shot him once or twice and he ended up getting away. So that's kind of what I think about seasons 1 and 2. I mean, it's out to 4 seasons. Winston just says that the show has 4 seasons and has been renewed for a 5th. So again, I'm playing catch up here. But those are my thoughts on seasons 1 and 2. It's kind of a drug story that we've seen repeatedly. It has its own nuances and things that are unique about it. But one of the things that's standing out to me is the imaging and the violence. In terms of the violence, I'll talk about my father first. And we're at about 45 minutes here. My father, a couple of years ago, he was binge watching 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. Okay, so Winston, you're in here as both yourselves, the Japanese guy and as you. He says, "Thanks for giving me something new to watch." Okay. A couple of years ago, my father was binge watching 24 with Kiefer Sutherland, and I would go visit my father, and he'd be sitting there really, really ingrained in 24. And then a little while afterwards, I said, "Dad, are you still watching 24?" And he's like, "Nah, I kind of backed off on it." And I said, why? He said, because it seemed like all the black people in 24 are getting killed off. They're in for a while, and then they're either getting murdered or they're getting blown up, and they just die eventually. And then he said, just seeing all that, stays in your mind for a while. And as I've been watching Snowfall, I've realized that as well. Some of these things, the problem with gratuitous violence is that when you watch so much of it, some of it starts to actually stay in your mind. So, for example, watching what happened to Lenny, even though I wasn't a fan of Lenny and I thought that Lenny deserved everything that he got, some of those scenes with Lenny were pretty, I just used the word grisly, from the way Carvel, brutalized them, and the way Carvel sodomized him. And then at the end of that season, when Jerome and Franklin got him to turn on Lenny, and Lenny and Ray Ray wound up slashing Lenny's neck, it's pretty brutal, man. And then all the stabbings involving the Mexican gang members, and when Teddy ultimately turned on Alejandro. There's a lot of violence in this show. So if you're not used to that, if you're watching this and you haven't seen any of this, you'll see some people die in this. My brother pointed out something interesting, because I took my Fire Stick to our little guys weekend this past weekend, and I watched one show. And my brother's pretty big on imaging. And I think he said something to the effect of, John Singleton, the late John Singleton, rest in power. He gave us Boys in the Hood and Baby Boy. And he was a producer in Snowfall. His name comes up when you watch the credits. And I believe what my brother said, because sometimes I get it wrong, what my brother said. And he says, you know what, I didn't say that, I said this. But I think his thing was messaging and imaging. And I think that my brother's point was, haven't we seen enough Black people in these roles as drug dealers and as gangsters? And he said, it's surprising John Singleton didn't think to create another story or to produce another story. And that kind of stood out to me a little bit as well. I see some new people coming in here. Have Faith says, by season 4, it becomes so grisly. It's almost a horror flick. Still a good show, and I'll watch season 5. But the level of violence is quite elevated. And maybe I'm not in the drug game myself. I was never in there. I was never running the streets myself. So maybe this is actually what it's like, especially in Southern California, where you have melanated foundational Black Americans in the drug game, and you also have South Americans in the drug game as well. If you're new coming in, please hit the like. That helps with the engagement. If you want to leave something in the tip jar, that information is below this stream as well. Infinity, and I appreciate that warning, have faith. Infinity says, I keep meaning to watch this show. It sounds pretty good. It's good. I like Damson Idris in this role. He's a young guy, so I didn't really know who he was before I started watching this. And as a matter of fact, the only actor in this cast that I really recognized was Kevin Carroll. And that's because I knew him from Paid in Full. But the rest of this cast, I haven't heard of most of these people. And that could be because I'm not on the Hollywood scene and I'm not watching every single movie. But most of these actors and actresses I've been unfamiliar with. Now, Judith Scott, her face looks familiar. I think she's been in something. I can't tell you what, but her face looks familiar. The rest of everyone else, I've never really seen before. Kareen says, I won't be watching this show. I lived through the crack era of the 80s in New York City. I don't want PTSD. Oh, Kareen, I thought you were a watcher and a supporter of the show. So that's surprising for me to hear you say that. I thought you were a watcher. Winston says, I don't blame you. He says, I was born during that era, so I'm too young to remember it. He also says, I'm curious to hear what Alonzo, the Blue Blazer Hall, has to say about it. Well, Alonzo had his own run-in on the streets as well, which he's told us about here in the YouTube streets. So I'm certain that if Alonzo watches Snowfall, it might jog something in his memory, but not necessarily in a good way. But going back to what my brother said, in terms of imaging and messaging, hey, what we know about the media, whether it's the mainstream media or what we know about pop culture, images and messaging matters. And there's a large segment of the population who believes what they see. And there's a large population, a large segment of the population who will emulate what they see on television. And going back to the Cosby Show, which was a controversial show for a lot of people, a lot of people didn't believe what they saw on the Cosby Show. And they said that this is not real. There are no affluent, well-to-do Black families. Why did Bill Cosby create the show? And I think there actually are, and there actually were, and there actually are affluent, upper middle class Black families. And I think that was one of the reasons why Bill Cosby wanted to create that show. And that was to show something different than Good Times or What's Happening, or shows where we just saw Black families struggling to make it, struggling in the streets, and just struggling. Bill Cosby wanted to show something else. So, and that arguably was one of the reasons why, even though we know why Bill Cosby got taken down, in terms of the scandal, it's been speculated that the real reason he was taken down is because he wanted to show positive images of Black people. So, going back to my brother's point, I think this was his point. It's surprising that, and maybe if John Singleton had lived a little bit longer, because he passed away, I think, from cancer, maybe he would have tried to put out some more positive imaging of Black people. But I would agree that we've seen, just like we've probably seen our fair share of slave movies. That's something else my brother is very passionate about. He's tired of watching slave movies. I think he didn't even want to watch 12 Years a Slave. The argument could be made that we've seen enough slave movies, and the argument could be made that we've seen enough Black drug dealers, such as Franklin and such as Ghost. Have we seen enough of those? Are we choking on those? And what's the benefit of continuing to show these images? Why not show more Black scientists like myself? Well, the reason is this, and I'm going to wrap up in about 5 to 10 minutes. The reason is this. I'm going to see if I can find this image. A hip hop artist from the early 1990s who I grew up watching said something that I think is very, very germane and applicable to this discussion. I'll see if I can find the image here. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. I thank you guys for humoring me here. This is the after work time slot. Some content creators go on around this time. And, while I'm still working remotely, I think it's a good time slot to take advantage of. Let's see, where is that picture? Oh, here it is. This will jog some of your memories. I think KRS-One, one of his albums was actually called Sex and Violence. This was after Self-Destruction and Edutainment. That was one of my favorite records right there, Edutainment. This was after the Stop the Violence movement, but he actually, I think he released a record called Sex and Violence. And I think he's given all kinds of lectures on this stuff and the direction of where hip hop music has gone. But I think that one of the points he was trying to make in releasing that record and in some of his messaging was that these things, they sell. Sex and violence sells. So when you think about the question of why not create more positive imaging of Black people, I think part of that involves the fact that sex and violence sells. The drug dealer image, and everything associated with it, those are popular images for Black people. But the danger is that if that's all you show, then you have whole generations of children and who are going to grow up to be older themselves. That's all they're going to aspire to. And so if you don't show the scientists and the thinkers and lawyers and other things, then the kids watching that, just watching Snowfall or just watching Power, that's what they're going to aspire to. If you don't show them being financial professionals like Alonzo, they don't know that they can be that. So that's the danger in only showing images of us like this. Let's see. I'm going to read some more comments here, and I'm going to shut it down because I've been in here all day. I did go for a brief walk this morning when I woke up, but I want to go get some more exercise. Okay. Let's see. Infinity MG. Okay, give me a second here. I'm getting my low signal icon. Come on, internet. There we go. Okay. So Infinity MG says, also, if you're new coming in, please like the stream. Also, if you're watching on the playback, please like the stream. I'm trying to grow this channel. This is my smallest channel. But this is kind of in the same vein of how my brother feels. I stopped watching slave movies after Django, and I can't bring myself to watch When They See Us or The Kai. I'm not familiar with either of those. Winston says, at Kareen, interesting. I'm not big on horror, but I did complete Game of Thrones and I'm up to date on the Walking Dead universe. Unfortunately, I did not get into the Walking Dead when it first started, so I'd have to sit down and literally watch from the beginning, which would take probably a long, long time at this point. Winston says, Infinity MG, I hated that Jewish guy's character in Django Unchanged. Corrine says, never watched The Walking Dead. Once I heard it's about zombies, I was like, hell no. So Corrine, you're a little averse to zombies. Then you probably shouldn't see, you probably shouldn't go see World War Z starring Brad Pitt either, because that's all about zombies. And you probably shouldn't go see I Am Legend starring Will Smith if you haven't seen it, because that's all about zombies too. And no, I'm not going to say that. Winston says, however, I am guilty of watching The Kai. I haven't watched that, so I don't know what that's about. LOL. Winston says, Winston, I appreciate your participation here. He says, I was like that at first, but I usually watch shows my friends watch so we can have things to talk about. Alonzo says, actually, due to Dr. Dunbar's desire, I'll be releasing videos that is very loosely related to Black families or member groups in affluent positions. We need more. I do agree that we need more positive imaging of our people. Epic discussion 76, entertainment media. Exactly. Winston says, that's great. Kareen says, I'll watch a documentary of certain things because my mind loves to learn. Let's see. Have Faith says, hypothetical debate. Shows like this that portray Black folks in negative ways should or should not be supported. Well, Have Faith, I agree. But this is a business, and companies know that, and advertisers know what the people will consume. So they're not just making this stuff for the hell of it. They know that shows like Scandal and what's the one that Viola Davis was in? Something about murder. How to Get Away with Murder? Was that it? Power, Empire. They know that there's a segment of our people that will consume that stuff, and they'll go to work talking about it, and they'll be on social media, tweeting about it and Facebooking about it. I'm sorry. Just look at when Scandal came out. I mean, all the women were just loving Scandal. They were loving the Olivia Pope, and they know what the people will consume. So as long as the people will consume that, they'll continue putting that programming out. Let's see. Alonzo says, I'll premiere it after the doc goes off. Okay, let me finish up, Alonzo. Winston says, it's pronounced like Kai. Shy. It's short for, so it's shy. We should check it out. I agree with Have Faith. Corinne says, I actually saw those two movies. I didn't know it was about them since I paid my money. I stayed and watched them. Winston says, okay, good question. It's only entertainment. Well, you know, Alonzo, the danger with entertainment is that, and this might be something Roger might want to tackle at some point, or maybe I'll tackle on my main channel, or maybe I'll tackle here. When you have young children watching something and there's no parent to instill values and instill a sense of right and wrong, and to instill a sense of this is make believe, you should do this or you shouldn't do it, the TV can become the parent, right? And so the images that they see, those young people, they may actually go ahead and emulate what they're seeing on television and what they're hearing in their music. And so that's a danger, particularly in our communities today, where there are so many broken homes and where some children are left to their own devices. You know, when I was growing up, I was in middle school when Straight Outta Compton, the cassette, and Easy Does It, when all that was released. So Dr. Dunbar, you guys will laugh at this, but Dr. Dunbar got a LA Raiders hat, a black LA Raiders hat, and got some black khakis, and I was walking around in a black sweatshirt and a black coat because I saw Ice Cube and Eazy-E and Dr. Dre doing it. I mean, that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but in middle school, yeah, I saw them doing it. So I got my black Raiders and LA Kings caps, and I was walking around like I was part of NWA. But in the back of my mind, I knew, you know what, this isn't me. I'm not a street kid. And if some of the Buffalo gangs come and approach me, I don't know what I'm going to do. So, but that was me. But there are other kids who don't have that guidance. Winston says, I think calling it a business is a cop-out. This is social programming / engineering. Well, Winston, I agree with you, but is it isn't it also being incentivized by dollars? I mean, they wouldn't be doing this, right, if it wasn't making money. The advertisers wouldn't be involved. The people writing the scripts, Shonda Rhimes, she knows what she's writing when she's writing it. Who was that wrote Power? The person who wrote Power and the person who wrote Empire, they all know what they're doing. The person who wrote Scandal, I think that was Shonda Rhimes. They know what they're doing, right? Let's see. Kareem says, How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal. Only watched like 2 seasons of both those shows. Okay, so you weren't into having affairs with the president, Kareem, I see. Alonzo Hall, do you mean that literally? Alonzo says, yes, nobody blames Scarface for the heroin epidemic. Oh, interesting. I'm assuming you're talking about the Al Pacino Scarface. Let's see. And then Winston says, this is one area where we disagree. Yeah, I mean, it's a yeah, it's probably something we could, and this has probably been debated on college campuses and by people more knowledgeable on the social sciences than me. But it's a good question. How influenced is the population by what they see on television and the movies? And how also, Winston, since we're talking about social engineering, how significant is the messaging that Hollywood is putting out now in terms of, I know the Angry Man, Valdez, the Angry Man, he's talked about all the female superheroes and the female heroes like Black Widow beating up male assailants. How significant is that? How significant is, I'll just say, the rainbow stuff being woven into everything? How significant is that? How influenced is the population by what the images that are being crafted for us? Let's see. I'll do a few more because you guys are really going beast mode in the chat right now. He says, it begs the question, why do they focus on making the worst stories about Black people in urban environments? A lie told often enough is perceived as the truth. Yep. Alonzo says, look at the Mayans or Sons of Anarchy, humongous, but nobody blames them for riots in Sturgis or Vegas caused by actual Hells Angels and outlaws. Okay, I'm getting my low internet signal icon. Give me a second. Okay. I have 2 bars again. Winston says they're not Black. Shonda Rhimes, she has an obsession with interracial relationships. Winston, what do you think about that? That's interesting. And she also doesn't seem to like men. And according to her interview with Oprah, she didn't want a husband in her house. She wanted the children, but she didn't want a husband in her house. And that makes me a little weary of Shonda Rhimes creating media for our population, because we're already seeing a bit of a crisis in terms of male-female relationships. But if Shonda Rhimes has a following and she's putting that messaging out, that doesn't bode well for us. Let's see. Winston says, I wonder why. I'm going to read a few more. My point is that entertainment is used to desensitize people to systemic problems. True assessment. I hear you. I agree. They are significant. However, not in the way people think. It's programming, yes. A form of entertainment, but still has influence on your mind, especially younger minds. And then Winston says, from my perception, there is no rainbow agenda, only a rainbow agenda of white supremacy. Okay, we're going Boyce Watkins a little bit here now. Winston says, I'm not a fan of her and her work. I think Shonda is a symptom of a dysfunctional community / society. All right. Well, everyone, I'm going to wrap this up. We're just over an hour. Those are my thoughts on Snowfall seasons 1 and 2. I set this stream up a couple of weeks ago, and I kept putting it off and off and off for various reasons, but I also decided that I should look at seasons 1 and 2. Someone, I think it was Have Faith, told me that it's going to get steadily more violent. So I will keep that in mind as I continue to watch. And that will factor into whether or not I continue watching. But I think I do like Damson Idris. I do like his character. I do like the Franklin character. I do like the Jerome character. And of course, I do like Auntie Louie, played by Angela Lewis. So I am curious to see what's going to happen next. But in any case, I'm going to stop this here. Everyone, thank you so much for those of you who came and participated in this stream in the chat. I didn't open it up because I want to run out somewhere, but I'll probably keep watching. And the next time I'll open this up so other people can come on and talk as well. Corrine Henry says, look at Bridgerton on Netflix. It was race swapping done badly. Shonda Rhimes could have picked a Black author about Black people. And Winston says, not surprising. Okay, everyone, thank you. Thank you for coming in. If you're watching on the playback, please like the stream. Let me get rid of our cast of characters here. If you're watching on the playback, please like the stream, and please also subscribe to the channel. This is my smallest channel, but I of course want to grow it. I'm getting my icon again. Give me a second before I go into my parting shot. This wireless internet thing is tricky. Okay. So once again, if you're new, please like the stream. Please like the video. Please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. I will leave you with this image of Jerome and Franklin. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.